Hello,
Sounds
everyone. Welcome to another podcast of Worxmate. Today, our topic is building and refining strategies for business success. And I'm very excited. We have an interesting personality today who has started, his venture from a bedroom with just 100 pounds in hand. And, he has sold out his business in a multi-million dollars in just few years. Needless to say, I'm sure the way I am excited, you all will be excited to hear more from Luke. Luke is an entrepreneur, he is an advisor, he is an investor to many CEOs. He also, acts as an investor where he looks out for exciting opportunities out in the market. So let me welcome Luke. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you.
It will be great if you could, give a little brief about you to our audience.
Of course, thank you very much for the introduction. Very kind. So, Luke Tobin, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess is the way of framing me. I've had 8 companies to date, 4 exits across 3 different industries. My focus these days is very much on kind of investing, helping to scale other businesses and helping other founders on their journeys. I have a portfolio company with around 15 active business investments, and then outside of that, try to keep myself sane with lots of hobbies. But that's really what I do now, is help other businesses on their journey.
Amazing. Everyone will pounce onto this message. Great, Luke. So I'll begin on this note, right? I mean, and I'm sure the moment I introduced you, people must be wondering if Luke can expand on that further, right? So you started as a freelancer, right, from your
Yeah.
bedroom, and then you sold out your business for 8 figures. So the question here is, what helped you figure out what your clients needed, right, and what that could help in terms of making your business successful?
Yeah. I think, talking about the most recent exit, the agency,
Yeah.
it was fast, so it's the one that definitely gets the attention. But what I would say is I'd honed some of my skills over the years up to that point, which definitely helped me. And I think I'd worked in another agency, and I'd noticed a real gap between the expectation of the client and the delivery of the agency. There's almost this no man's land that sits in the middle between
Yeah.
the relationship where the agency's trying to keep the fee and do a good job, but often is hindered and not able to do the job to the standard that the client wants. And the client is kind of stuck thinking, well, I need to pay the agency because I can't get the team internally. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way of bridging this gap between the two. There must be a way of actually having like real alignment between those two
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
So I started off, testing the model, I guess, as a contractor, which was, a handful of clients going and spending time in those businesses. And I think what I did differently early on was other agencies sell time for money. I would go in and say, hey, I want to come and sit in your business for a week or two, and I want to get to know you. I want to go for dinner. I want to understand who to ask for which part of the department or different function in the business. And I really, a bit like, I guess, if you were a new employee in a business, you go in and you integrate as much as you can and you start finding out who to go to help you with different things. I did that on a external basis. So it was really integrated, an integrated solution. And what that did was it built the foundations for a kind of fruitful relationship. Because again, where most agencies fall down and there's this kind of expectation for the agency just to deliver from day one, I was given a little bit more rope and a little bit more allowance to maybe not always get it right, but it was okay. We're not going to get rid of Luke. We like Luke. We've got a
Yeah.
relationship with Luke. He understands us. He gets us. He's invested his time. And that model worked really well. So I went from a few clients to 20 clients. Then I thought, God, I can't do this on my own. I need some more people. So after the first year and a half or so of struggling to try and do it myself with some freelance support, I started hiring staff. So in 2018, we hired our first team member in the February. By the end of that year, we had nearly 20 people. By the end of the next year, we had 50. And, it grew and
Amazing.
grew and grew. So that was kind of like this kind of approach to something that was, agencies are 10 to a penny, right? They're everywhere. But it was like, how do we take a model that in many ways is broken, but is commoditized, and do we make it much more integrated? And that was really how we managed to build success in that market.
Amazing. It brings a different perspective of looking at a business, right? So what I understand is your idea was more of knowing your customer better before you jump onto committing something. But invest into customers, know how, get to know them. Then the challenges in real, in a real sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it all becomes like one or two call, and we feel that we understand customers. And probably, as you rightly mentioned, that bridging the gap between customers, what customer wants, and what we deliver, there's a huge difference between expectations to a delivery. Amazing, I'll tell you, it's a great thought. Probably people might have thought about it multiple times. You just practiced it.
Yes, yeah. I think a lot of people worry about how that's scalable. If you're spending
Mm,
lots of time, like how can you do that with multiple clients? And
mm,
the honest answer is at scale, it becomes really challenging. And we had that challenge as well. But even if what we did in the end, we went from spending 2 weeks to maybe 2 days, but we got
yeah,
really good at making the most of those 2 days. So what I used to fit into 2 weeks, we formatted into systems that allowed us to workshop through and have the same impact in a shortest period of time. And then at scale, that made sense financially and commercially. So you have to adapt always in business. I
yeah,
think business
yeah.
is just solving problems, but that alignment to clients is the key. That was the big difference. And our retention rate then as a business was above 95% year over year, whereas the agency standard is 40% churn of clients every year. So you're chasing so much more new revenue all the time. And if the market conditions get tough or clients aren't spending as much, you're in real jeopardy, right? Because if you can't sign new clients and you lose 40% of your current clients every year, you're always a few months away from disaster. So we managed to mitigate that and grow really quickly because of that solution.
No, amazing. I think it's just a matter of, you were so clear in your mind that how do you want to run the business. I think
Yeah.
that's a lesson that the entrepreneur, those who are planning to introduce product out in the market, is something that they really need to learn from this,
Mm.
which you just clearly stated out, right? I mean, going after crazy to acquire new business, and not really worrying about retaining what they have in hand, right? It's very important. And as you rightly mentioned, if that both the things goes in hand, you have just few months left to figure out. So moving on to the same subject, right, Luke, right? So you have built and exited multiple businesses. I'm sure there's a lot of learning and failures that you've learned over the period, right? So what was your approach of defining strategies that worked out for you, out of this?
I think for me, the businesses that I've gone into, I have to say, I've never tried to do the new sexy tech thing on the block. I've always gone for businesses that I understand, that
Hmm.
I think there is a better way of functioning or systemizing. I'm all for systems and processes, and then I've jumped into them. But out of the 8 companies I've had, a few of them didn't work out. Some of it is trial and error, and I think for any entrepreneur that's out there and expects just to get this stuff right, it's never the case. You have to really work through it. And I think any industry is rife for the taking when it comes to innovation. Always, often I think we look at things, and this is the way I've tried to always look at new business ideas. We look at things and go, well, everything's been done, or oh, somebody else has got the money and they're doing it, or somebody else. But actually, you can be a bit of a copycat and take learnings,
Yeah.
tweak slightly, change things a little bit, put your own personality, your own stamp on things, and it can work. The businesses I've exited are the ones that I've been able to look up to other businesses that have proven that the model can work, and then I've just basically put my own personality on it, and that's how I've been successful. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs will have brand new, fresh ideas that have never been tested before, and that's great. And it's amazing that we've got people like that. But you have to lean into your strengths, I think.
Amazing. I think, yeah, again, it's a perspective that that makes you unique. What I'm learning more and more about you, right? So, as you rightly mentioned something, and a lot of time, even as an investor, you must have asked this question 100 times, right? That have you tested your idea, right? How valid it is? Do you see a need of this particular product or solution out in the market? And as you very nicely described, what you're doing is you are picking the idea which is already tested on the market. There's huge need, but yeah, it has to be presented right, and that's where your personality plays an important role, right? And thereby, customer finds it more valuable. And the moment you bring value to a product, customer would like to go for it.
Exactly.
Keeping that in mind, Luke, right? I mean, you have built one of the fastest growing agency, which we learn right in the UK market. And this is very important, right? So people have got strategies, right? They define strategy. And even in our subject, we discuss about strategies quite often. One of the thing which everyone struggle is when you have a strategy, between planning to execution, right?
Mm.
And that's my next question to you, right? I mean, when you built one of the fastest growing agency in UK, how you have executed your strategy so right.
I have to be honest. A lot of the time, we didn't. We were kind of figuring it out, right? And I often talk about businesses like the seesaw that goes up and down. So for a long time, when we're getting new customers, the operations would start falling down, right? And we were having to hire a lot of staff. We were having to figure things out. I think the one thing that allowed us to be successful in the end, because there was tough periods like there is in any business, and the thing that allowed us to reach an exit and become attractive for sale was the systemization of process, and really looking at hiring the right people and empowering them to run with certain departments. So for a long time, I think one of the big mistakes founders and entrepreneurs make is they hold on too tight to too many things. And I learned really quickly in my businesses that you need to empower others and find people that are smarter than you to do the roles that you either can't do or shouldn't do. There's a lot of things as a founder you shouldn't be doing, even though you think you can do them all. And just because you'll work harder than anybody else doesn't mean that you should be doing that role. So I think that delegation and systemization was really the thing that set us apart. And it was also an exciting place to be, right? We were growing quickly. There were new revenue fixes, most problems, we're able to hire better people and all that stuff. So it was exciting, but I think it was very tough for the team as well. I have to say, I think, it was aggressive growth. We were growing, nearly doubling every year. 1 year was like almost triple, and the team aren't ready for that. We don't have the tools, the processes, the whatever. So there was a lot to figure out as we went, basically.
What a great problem to have for any company. I mean, growing
Yeah.
three times, three times a
Yeah.
year, your team is like worried about something else when they go out in the market and they talk to their friends and colleagues, and they say, what is that you're worried about? They may be saying, we are growing three times.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
as it's so true. Because when I spoke to leaders who have successfully built their product out in the market, and some of them are still running their business, some of them have exited. But, it resonates so well with your thoughts, because that's what they say, if you can empower people within your organizations to a level when they can independently execute what you're thinking of, you're building a great team,
Yeah.
right? And it's good to have zero dependency on you. Then you are actually building a wheel that can run its own.
Exactly.
Um, Amazing. It's a great view, right? So keeping, continuing on the same line, right? And it's not related to the business, but it's more about those companies who found a need in the market, and they have launched their product out in the market, and they are almost on the verge of scaling business, right? What key factors do you believe are crucial to like a consistent result that one needs to be delivering it, right? Let's take your example, right? So I'm sure, right, initial 1.5 years, right, you were focusing more on like getting things right,
Mm.
be it understanding customers, be it the process, the way you wanted it to be, right? And, understanding the need, and, executing in a certain manner and whatnot. So maybe in one first, few months you just figured out.
Yeah.
But later on, your growth was 2x and sometimes 3x, right? So you were scaling, right? What are the crucial factors, that one needs to keep in mind to consistently deliver the result? But that's the key, right?
You need to, I think the first and foremost thing, because some of it you won't have in place early, but it is finding the right people to have around you. I think I was very fortunate about getting some good people in early, and that really helped me. I think also having a plan. I think if you can have a really solid plan and way of implementing strategy, processes, goals, that makes a huge impact.
Hmm.
And you need the right systemization for that and the right way of tracking that. I think each individual in the business had their own individual targets, goals, aspirations, parts that they added to the business and overall value. So yeah, really staffing, right people, right goals, right metrics, and having everybody aligned and unified to the vision. A big part of my job was constantly reselling the vision to everybody. I think a lot of businesses stagnate when they don't do that, right. You need to keep an element of momentum and wind in the sails constantly. Otherwise, people become complacent. It's natural. So yeah, I try to always keep the ship going at full speed, basically.
No, that's right. And I think somewhere I connect the dots here, right? Yes, and I'm going to pick this word, right, that you mentioned, reselling your vision internally, right? And it's so true,
Yeah.
right? A lot of time we keep selling this vision outside, to the customers, to partners, to distributors, to whomever you think, right? And very less sold inside. Right, and there has to be a story, right? I mean, people need to believe in it first of all, because that is what they will, take it outside and let the customer believe in it. And as you rightly mentioned, if you don't empower people, you cannot alone run the ship, right? So you need right people at right places, and they doing everything right, so just running like a, well-oiled, smooth machine, right? So, I mean, and while you started your entrepreneur journey and you successfully exited and you have done multiple businesses, right? So as an entrepreneur and as an investor, right? Now you are invested into multiple, businesses, right? And I also understand, you are a founder of Tobin Capital, wherein you basically invest, mentor a lot of players, right, out in the market. So this is an interesting question because that's the area we deal into, right? So as you fairly aware of OKR framework, right? How often, do you see that OKR plays an important role in shaping the startups or any businesses, and how do you see as an investor that this framework is very much needed? Because I mean, from a customer standpoint, it will help them in running and bringing people to the same goal. But as an investor, what value do you see?
Yeah, I think it's pivotal, right? Especially in a more distributed global world with teams often being dotted around. I think having clear goals, ways of tracking progress, and unifying everyone back to that same direction is critical. And OKRs as a kind of systemization of those objectives, I think is a fantastic solution. And yeah, across most of the businesses, if not all of the businesses that I see successful, they have, even if you talk about Google and these guys that made OKRs famous, right? They still to this day have OKRs with each of their individuals, each of their departments, each of their roles, management and beyond. And I think it just helps keep everybody on track.
Amazing. No, absolutely right, Luke. So, with this, I end, my podcast here, but great learning. I really loved, your starting point, and I'm going to keep it with me. When you said, you invested yourself into, the customer's shoe, right? You said, you will be there for a week or two. You will be with them. You will go for a lunch, right? You will try and understand their challenges they face. You will listen to people, right? And I think it's a unique perspective, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Luke, for sharing your views. And I'm sure there's a lot of learning, right, and a lot of unique way of looking at things, right? And it'll fascinate because people, it is just there in front of your eyes. It's just that the person who has the ability to view it and capitalize it, the one who does it, and you are that one guy, right? So thank you so much for your time. And I wish you a lovely weekend. Enjoy your time over the weekend.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much and have a nice weekend as well, okay?
You
Cheers.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Look,
Bye.
bye.